35, 39, 41. 35, 39, 41. 18 centimeter wrist, that's just over 7 inches. 35, 39, and 41 millimeter Nomos Tangente watches. 35, 39, and 41 millimeter watches that all work on my wrist. Nomos is a brand that seems to live outside of, or at least on the edge of, the traditional luxury watch industry. It's fairly young, being founded only in 1990. It's German, not Swiss, with its watches being designed in Berlin and produced in Glashütte, just south of Dresden. And there's a playfulness to the brand that I appreciate, even though many of its watches are nearly austere. Today, Nomos produces more watches than any of its Glashütte neighbors like A. Lange & Söhne, Glashütte Original, Tutima, Mühle Glashütte, and other companies with umlauts in their names. Ich liebe Deutsch. When Nomos launched its first 3 models in 1991, the Tangente was one of them. At the time, the 35mm reference was the only Tangente size available. This was a common diameter for all genders. I guess in the early 90s, insecure men had to find other ways to feel better about themselves. The design of the Tangente wasn't new, in fact it was decades old. In the 1930s, several watchmakers, including Lange, Longines, and Stova, produced watches nearly identical to the Tangente. This type of design was influenced by the Bauhaus design school, which was literally a school of design and is still figuratively a school of design. The Bauhaus principles focus on simplicity, form following function, and mass producibility, and these ideas often manifest in clean, modern design, so basically most Nomos watches. This is the 35mm Tangente. This is the 39mm Tangente Neomatic with the platinum gray dial. And this is the 41mm Tangente Neomatic Update. This smaller Tangente lists for $1,900 with a solid caseback, or $2,180 for this sapphire caseback. It's 35mm across and 45mm long. With a solid caseback, it's 6.2mm thick, and with the display back like this, it's 6.6mm thick. It uses 18mm straps and is rated for 30 meters of water resistance, so walking in the light rain, washing your hands, and not much else. Inside the watch is the manually wound in-house caliber Alpha. It has 43 hours of power reserve and is the go-to affordable Nomos movement. I know not everyone wants a display caseback, but I've always thought that for the price, Nomos does a nice job at movement finishing. There's actually a 33mm Tangente that's similar in most ways to this. I'd love to buy one for Mrs. You're Terrific, but like her worse half, she's more into sports watches. And there are also 38mm Tangente watches that use this manually wound alpha movement. But this watch is the 39mm Tangente Neomatic. I guess Neomatic is a portmanteau of neo and automatic, because inside this watch is the in-house DUW 3001 movement, which uses something Nomos calls the swing system escapement. The brand says that this system helps ensure accuracy, but I haven't tested it. And with this movement upgrade comes an upgraded price too. With the solid caseback, the Neomatic Platinum Gray is $3,390, and with this display caseback is $3,780. The watch is actually 38.5mm in diameter, 7.1mm thick with the display back, or 6.9mm thick with a solid caseback. It's 47mm long, and instead of being water resistant to 30 meters like the previous watch, this is resistant to 50 meters. It seems like every brand is different, but Nomos says that 50 meters of water resistance means that you can shower with this watch on, but swimming is not recommended. Also with 50 meters of water resistance is this Tangente Neomatic Update. I think the word update might be a cute double meaning, indicating that it's relatively new, and also that the date is up, around the periphery of the dial. To all the insufferables who don't like date windows, are you not entertained? Seriously, I'm curious how some of you feel about this display. The first time I saw this date display in photos, I thought that it seemed a bit confusing. I'm looking at 2 red apertures with the current date between them. My initial thinking was that I wouldn't know which number was the date. Turns out I was mostly wrong. It is easy for me to see where the red is and that there's a number between them, but the text is so small on my geriatric 40-year-old eyes that I can't easily read what those numbers are. Somebody fetch Grandpa his reading glasses. But I do find something satisfying about seeing the month laid out in a circle. It gives me a truer experience of the cycles of the month, something I don't get from viewing dates through a single window. After all, time is a flat circle. Also, you can set the date forward and backwards. Wunderbar. The Tangente Neomatic update lists for $4,100 and only comes with a sapphire caseback, because Nomos has decided that you must witness the caliber 6101 movement. Automatic with the swing system escapement, 42 hours of power reserve, 27 joules, and it's a looker. The watch is 41mm in diameter, 7.8mm thick, and 49mm long. Like I said, it has 50 meters of water resistance. It uses 20mm straps and has drilled lugs like the other two watches. And yeah, I haven't mentioned the weight of any of these watches because I don't think it matters. They're all light, like very light. If these watches are too heavy for you, you should stick to quartz movements and avoid the corners of coffee tables and probably wear body armor everywhere. With weight not playing a heavy role, the wearability and style of these Tangente watches comes down to the dimensions, and it's complicated. If you know Nomos watches, you know that diameter is only the starting point. Thickness is always impressively thin with Nomos, which is great, so it's lug to lug, that 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock dimension that's often the deciding measurement with these pieces, length and how it manifests in the design. Okay, on my 7-inch wrist, here is the 45mm length, here is 47mm, here is 49mm. Again from the side, 45, 47, 49. These proportions are totally in line with other watch designs. A 41mm watch with a 49mm length, totally normal. But I think it's the design of the lugs that makes them stand out, literally. Because they're not integrated with a case and because the lugs don't immediately angle downwards, they are bold. It's a look. It's a look I like, but I know these lugs can make or break it for some people. It's also important to recognize that a watch without a wide bezel, ones that are all dial like these, they can look larger. I call it the dinner plate effect. A single homogeneous surface can look broader, and I think especially when a watch is this thin. And all this is one reason why I think that I, a 6-foot-tall man with a 7-inch wrist and a lot of unfounded confidence, can wear this 35mm Tangente watch. Not just can, but maybe should. My preference between these sizes is the Goldilocks 39mm. Again, I think they all work, but the middle size is my preference on looks. My ideal combo here would be a 39mm Neomatic update, because I'm really charmed by this peripheral date display. It takes the watch from austere to interesting without being cluttered. The Tangente is nearly a flagship watch for Nomos. This line helped launch the brand in 1991 and is likely a reason why Nomos is one of the largest watchmakers in Germany. And despite the increasing variations Nomos creates, I think the brand has done a good job sticking to those core Bauhaus looks. Now these aesthetics aren't for everyone, and they aren't for every occasion, no doubt. But between the styles, the improving watchmaking capabilities, and its independent nature, I think Nomos is one of the more interesting brands in the $1,000 to $4,000 price range. And these Tangente watches, these are just scratching the surface.